The Great Dance, Michael Jordan. ESPN aired the final episode of the widely popular Michael Jordan documentary on Sunday. Michael Jordan, The Last Dance is a runaway hit, seen not only as a sports documentary but as an important cultural series with multiple lessons. The series led us to re-highlight the Jordan's leadership. We all know that Michael Jordan is an absolute great player. Then here's the question: what kind of leader Jordan was? It's time for us to ignite the fire of the Jordan. It's time for us to remember the legend of him. And finally, it's time for us to stand up and strike. Michael Jordan's documentary The Last Dance concluded with episode 9 and 10 on Sunday. This documentary is highly into fame, especially in this kind of social situation. The 10-part documentary series provides an in-depth look at the Chicago Bulls dynasty through the lens of the final championship season in 1997 to 98. The Bulls allowed an NBA entertainment crew to follow the team around for that entire season, and some of that never-before-seen footage is featured in the documentary. In addition, ESPN spoke to more than 100 people close to team and personalities who experienced the run, exploring all angles of Jordan phenomenon. By acclamation, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. A brief listing of his top accomplishments would include the following. ESPN named Michael Jordan as the greatest athlete of the 20th century. No doubt, he is the best of the best. Here's a list we can truly feel that how best he is. Michael Jordan of the basketball, Babe Ruth of the baseball, Muhammad Ali of the boxing, Jim Brown American football, Wayne Gretzky ice hockey. How legend are they? They newly defined what we called each of the sports and pioneered a new era of them. I can truly feel what is the definition of the legend. Even contemporaneous superstars recognize the unparalleled position of the Michael Jordan. Magic Johnson said, "There is Michael Jordan, and then there is the rest of us." Larry Bird, following a playoff game where Jordan dropped 63 points on the Boston Celtics in just his second season, appraisal of the young player was, "God disguised as Michael Jordan." Michael Jordan once said that, when people see this documentary, people are going to say, well, he wasn't really a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant. He knew that he was not that kind and generous leader. At first, unquenchable competitive desire. Michael Jordan has unquenchable competitive desire. It was almost paranoid. If someone poked him or insult, he must have to break it and win over it. It was his temper. Here's a famous anecdote between Michael Jordan and Dikembe Mutombo. It was during the 1997 NBA All-Star Game that Mutombo decided to get into the head of Michael Jordan by trash-talking with the Bulls star. Dikembe Mutombo, who was known for his shot-blocking skills, leveraging his 7 feet 2 inch tall, and also nicknamed Mount Mutombo. During a conversation in the locker room, said that Michael Jordan never dunked on him. Later the same season, Jordan responded to Mutombo's comment by dunking over him when Bulls hosted the Hawks. During one play, Jordan drove to the baseline and stepped one over Mount Mutombo. Afterward, Jordan used Mutombo's famous finger wag. And here's another game between Michael Jordan and Mount Mutombo. The day of the Chicago Bulls legend Michael Jordan's blind free throw to troll Dikembe Mutombo in 1991. During a November 23, 1991 game against the Denver Nuggets, Michael Jordan ended up trolling Dikembe Mutombo during a free throw. With only 5 seconds left on the clock, Michael Jordan called Mutombo and told him the next free throw was for him. Jordan then closed his eyes and effortlessly made the free throw. Chicago Bulls went to win the game 107-100 against the Denver Nuggets. And after that, Jordan taunted Mutombo that, "Welcome to NBA." The following episode crystal clear the competitive temper of the Jordan. NBA official commented that Michael Jordan versus Labrador Smith, a look at Bulls legend's revenge against the imaginary opponent, the consonant, imaginary. Time goes back to March 19, 1993. Smith's lottery-bound Washington Bullets traveled to Chicago to take on the defending champion of the Bulls. Smith received his fourth straight start as he teamed with the All-Star Michael Adams in the backcourt and was given the assignment of matching up with Jordan. Smith, who averaged just 9.3 PVG for the season, went on lighting up Michael Jordan for a career-high 37 points. The Bulls, however, still won the game, 104-99. Jordan got the win, but he wasn't very pleased with the fact that he allowed an unknown player like Smith to drop so many points on him. Following the game, Jordan claimed that Smith mocked him by saying, "Nice game, Mike." Jordan then supposedly promised people he would match Smith's 37 points in the first half of two teams' next meeting, which was the very next day. In the second game, this time at the Bulls Capitol Center, Jordan almost followed through on his promise as he scored 36 points by halftime. He would finish 47 and his Bulls cruised to 106-101 victory. Smith, the hero of the previous night's game, had just 15 points. Here's the point. Jordan admitted years later that Smith never made a "nice game" comment. He made it all up. He apparently just needed more motivation to get Smith back for embarrassing him. The reason why The Last Dance unveiled 22 years after the original recording date is because of his, what we named, unquenchable competitive desire to win. Jordan and the Bulls allowed the NBA cameras to follow the team through the 1998 season, giving fans a groundbreaking look inside the mechanics of champion winning side. Despite the footage being filmed in 1998, it remained in the vault for more than 20 years, finally being given the green light back in 2018. 22 years after a camera crew was granted unprecedented access to one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history, ESPN finally aired a 10-part documentary series on the 1997-98 Chicago Bulls called The Last Dance. According to NBA expert Bill Simmons, it could well have only been given the green light now because of the LeBron James. In 2016, James won his third NBA title as he carried the Cleveland Cavaliers to victory over Golden State Warriors. In doing so, he took a step closer to catching up with Jordan's total of the 6 championship rings. Throughout his career, James had been constantly compared with Jordan, with fans deliberating over which player was better. And Simon believes there is a chance that MJ felt his legacy as the greatest player of all time was under threat, and therefore decided to finally give the green light to the documentary. The second, ruthless cruel leader. Sam Smith, the longtime Bulls reporter who wrote the illuminating MJ book The Jordan Rule, told a story in which Jordan is way more cruel to his colleagues. And he came up with an anecdote with Horace Grant. Jordan wouldn't let Horace Grant eat on the team plane if Grant had a lousy game. Here's the full quote. Player would come to me over the years and said, "You know what he did? He took Horace Grant's food away on the plane because Horace had a bad game. Michael Jordan told the stewardess, 'Don't feed him. He does not deserve to eat.'" And the story of bullying Bill Cartwright. When the Bulls let Charles Oakley go and brought in Bill Cartwright, Jordan resented the loss of his friend and took it out on Cartwright, calling him Medical Bill and intentionally threw impossible-to-handle passes at him in practice to draw attention to what he perceived to be his bad hands. and he ordered his colleagues to do not pass to him. Another former teammate, Will Perdue, didn't mince a word when recalling what it was like to practice with Jordan. He crossed the line numerous times, but as time goes and you think back about what he was actually trying to accomplish, you were like, yeah, he was a hell of a teammate. All of this episode counted on one single idea. He was a ruthless and cruel leader. The third, dominate the court. After Michael Jordan debuted on NBA, it took only 3 years for him to become All-Star MVP. At that time, Jordan didn't embrace the triangle offense overnight. Under Collins in 1986-7, Jordan averaged 37.1 points, attempted 27.8 shots per game, and posted a 38.3 usage rate. It turned out that he dominated 32% of the entire game. Michael Jordan's final Bulls game against Utah Jazz in 1998, we all thrilled at and remember his last shot. This game saw one of the most iconic moments of Jordan's career. During the game, Jazz were leading 86-85 with 18.9 seconds to play. Michael Jordan stole the ball from Karl Malone in the post. Jordan then ran down the court and used a crucible dribble and slight shove on Russell to nail the 20-foot jumper for an 87-86 lead with 5.2 seconds to play. That jumper ended up being the game winner as the Bulls clinched the title to complete their second three-peat. This moment displayed Michael's ability to dominate the game on both ends, a perfectly timed skill, and a 20-footer to get the lead in the dying moments of the game. It also remembered as one of the greatest plays in the NBA history. At this day, 3 minutes before the end whistle, MJ threw every single shot on his own. Of course, Jordan's teammates spaced the floor and gave him room to operate, but this story tells how dominant he was. Steve Kerr, who is the coach of the Golden State, explains one huge difference between Michael Jordan and Tim Duncan. Steve Kerr has played a part in 3 of the most storied NBA teams of the last 30 years in different capacities. As a result, he has a lot of stories about many of the best players of that time frame. When telling about playing with Duncan and Jordan, Steve Kerr was very candid about the differing experiences. Duncan was always about the team, while Jordan was always the focal point of wherever he played. And Kerr learned that firsthand. It was a lot easier to play with Tim Duncan, Kerr said. The difference between Michael and Tim is you always felt like you were playing with Tim, and there were times where you feel like you were playing for Michael. You were scared to death of him, Kerr said. He was the most dominant force on the floor in every regard. It wasn't just a talent, it was the force of will. Opponents were defeated by Michael before they even walked on the floor. Kerr also said that Jordan saw his teammates as people who were there to compliment him, but he says that it helped turn him into a better player. By the time he was with Duncan, he had seen it all and seen the highs and lows of an NBA player. As seen in his shuffle with Kerr, Jordan liked to lead by fear, not friendliness. Following all these stories, MJ was not the generous and kind leader for their colleagues, and surely for himself. Michael Jordan has unquenchable competitive desire to win. For winning over the game, he ruthlessly and cruelly drove his colleagues up. And Jordan always dominated the basketball court. Nevertheless, all of this dark sides, Michael Jordan applauded as the greatest leader of all time. His style and his way of leading is still controversial, but what he performed and achieved was great. At first, glorious triumphs. Michael Jordan's obsession and unquenchable competitive desire led to the Bulls to win. After a third straight loss to the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs, Michael Jordan decided he needed to bulk up to handle the physical abuse he was taking. Detroit Pistons roughly threw fouls to keep Michael Jordan in check. Jordan had lifted weights constantly for fear of messing up his shots. But he added 15 pounds of muscles in one summer to better withstand the physical play of the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs. I was getting brutally beaten up, Jordan said in the episode 4 of the series, and I wanted to administer pain. I wanted to start fighting back. If he cares more about his own glory, he might have been able to go to Detroit. However, he did not choose that action. He added muscle since he cares way more about triumph of the team, the Bulls. Adding to that, for making his team to win, he ordered his colleagues to be stronger. Phil Jackson, who was the coach at that time, said that Jordan makes the team to train at the off-season period. He recalled that Jordan said, "We must be the champion, not the second." The second, best mentor. Even the Horace Grant, who was assaulted by taking away food at the plane, applauds Michael Jordan. Grant stated that, "You cannot compare anybody to Michael. You can't compare, but Michael is the best player I've ever seen or ever played against." Even if Horace did not have the great relationship with Michael Jordan, he admitted that Jordan was the greatest player of all time. Former Bulls point guard Vijay Armstrong gave insight into how Jordan transformed into a 6-time NBA champion. Michael Jordan did not even really play the basketball anymore. He just figured out how to win the game. He knew how to steer the momentum. He knew how to get guys going. Not only he was that good on the offensive end, he was that good on the defensive end. He was just playing a different game than the rest of us. He let us play, but he was there to win the game. Michael Jordan was best man not only because he was the best player on earth, but because he was also a man of his word and loyalty. If he promised you one thing, he was going to live and die by his word. That's exactly what happened when Jerry Krause announced that Phil Jackson wasn't going to continue as the Bulls coach regardless of the outcome of the 1997-8 season. Jordan, furious about the news, and asserted that he'd retire if the Bulls fire Phil Jackson. Let's just say, Michael stood by his word and announced his second retirement without hesitation when Krause did not extend Phil Jackson's contract. Michael Jordan's dedication to his team is one of the most critical reasons why Michael Jordan highly appraised much more than LeBron James. He did his own best to his colleagues as a mentor. Michael Jordan and LeBron James chased the same goal, but they approached leadership differently. LeBron James chased winning trophy by trading his team lots of times. Compared to that, even if Jordan was intense and ruthless on the floor, he did not trade his team even a single time. He dedicated to his team and made his team to win. Michael Jordan was always with the Chicago Bulls. That is why he was and is the face of the league and the heart and the soul of the Bulls. The third, prove as actions. Of course, Michael Jordan dominated the court and also his colleagues. It is certain that he's not that generous and kind leader. But here's the point. Based on his so-called domination, there is Jordan's sincerity and fidelity. He did his best than any other else, and here's the key. He proved as actions and result. In fact, the dominant amount of shooting counts of Jordan related to his legendary intense work ethic. Jordan ran and trained far more than anybody else. Today, Jordan's intense work ethic is legendary, as reporters and former teammates often recount how the iconic athlete often competed just as hard in the practice as he did in actual games. One famous quote from Jordan seemed to sum up that ethos: "I do not do things half-heartedly, because I know if I do, then I can expect half-hearted result." After Phil Jackson came to Chicago Bulls, he asked Bulls players to play as a team. Jordan followed his directions by passing the shoot to his colleagues at the most critical moments, which can tell the victory or not. Michael Jordan with the game-winning assist. When was the last time you remember that happening? How about on June 13, 1997, in the Game 6 of the NBA Finals between Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz? With 28 seconds remaining and the score tied at 86, the Bulls called a timeout to discuss how to execute on the potential series clinching position. The entire planet had to figure out what was going next. Similar to Chicago's 84-82 buzzer-beating win in Game 1, Bulls head coach Phil Jackson planned it would surely be to give the ball to Michael and get out of the way. During the timeout, Michael Jordan kept saying over and over, "Give it to me, give it to me." So he will be isolated. Jordan, though, had something else in his mind. He was prepared to adjust what Utah defense threw at him, and he actually had a little bit more to say in the huddle. He looked to his sharpshooting teammate Steve Kerr to be ready. When Phil drew up the play at the end, everybody in the gym, everybody in the TV knew it was going to me, Jordan said later. I looked at Steve and said, "This is your chance because I knew Stockton is going to come over and help and I'm going to come to you." Just like he envisioned when Jordan caught the ball on the left wing and made a move on his defender, Brian Russell, Stockton looked over to help. After Jordan pump faked and stepped through the double team, he found Kerr, Stockton's original assistant, wide open at the top of the key. Kerr corralled the pass and let fly a 70-foot jumper, which swished through the net to give the Bulls an 88-86 lead with 5 seconds left. It was Kerr's shot, however, that won the game. One of the most revealing moments in The Last Dance came on screen with Michael Jordan describing why he pushed himself and his teammates so hard. "Look, winning has a price," says Jordan, "and leadership has a price. So I pulled people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenged people when they didn't want to be challenged. And I earned that right because my teammates who came over me didn't endure all the things that I endured. Once you join the team, you live at a certain standard that I played the game, and I wasn't going to take any less." And also he says, when people see this, they are going to say, "Well, he wasn't really a nice guy. He may have been a tyrant." Well, that's you, because you never won anything. I want to win. But I wanted them to win to be part of that as well. Look, I don't have to do this. I'm only doing it because it is who I am. That's how I play the game. That was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Michael Jordan was not the generous leader, but he was the best and the great leader of all time. Thank you so much for watching my video, and please subscribe to my channel and show your thumbs up. And I will hop around the world and bring lots of thousands of funny stories to you. Let's hop around together. Thank you and see you again.